Alright, what's up? I'm making this video because when I researched online on how to remove this transmission, I only could find written forums, nothing on YouTube video or a video for it. So this is a 2002 Ford Ranger single cab 2.3 four banger. It's got the 4R55E transmission that I removed already. So I already removed the transmission and torque converter. I just wanted to walk you through everything that I did step by step. So first thing that I did was jack up the vehicle, get it pretty high up, enough room to move the tranny out when I'm done. Next, I pulled off the two front tires, and then removed, this was probably the hardest part of the entire job, and then removing the inner splashes on both sides. So the splash guard on this side, splash guard on the other side, and I'll walk you through why in a moment. So after I removed that, I went back down to the drive line. I pulled the drive line, then I pulled the exhaust. Now to pull the exhaust, the reason why I pulled the splash guard was that the O2 sensor sits right here. And so the easiest way for me to get to that O2 sensor, and then the exhaust bolt sat right here, the one on the upper exhaust bolt sat on the top. So after looking at it, the easiest way was to pull the splash guard, get in here, and remove the O2 sensor, and then I was able to get to the top bolt from the bottom side with an extension and pull the exhaust down. From there, I put a jack underneath the tranny and removed the cross member, which was just bolted up real simple. A few bolts on the side here, 1 2 3 1 2 3, just zipped them right out, and then pulled, of course, the tranny bolts on the bottom of the cross member from the tranny mount and the exhaust mount. From there, I just unclipped all the wiring from the transmission, and then lowered the jack and the transmission to angle the transmission down so I can get to all the transmission bolts. I found that there was some on the back side of the transmission. I felt like there's a lot of transmission bolts for this, so there was some on the back side facing this way, going into the transmission and pulling the transmission that way. Might be pretty cool with the install. But I had to go through, I'll grab a light in a second for the other side, but I had to go through right here with an extension and just a little swivel at the end to catch those bolts, and then I just threw my impact on it, and I was able to catch the two bolts right there from right here on this side, and this is the passenger side where the exhaust was. And then from there, I went around the rest of the transmission bolts from underneath the truck, and just, extensions and swivels, and just zipped them all out. It was pretty easy. And then when I was looking up everything online, it seemed like the hardest part and was giving me the most complications from understanding it, which was the torque converter bolts, which, like I said, on everything, the hardest part of this job was literally removing these splash guards. They're a pain in the butt to get out, but everything else is pretty easy after that. So once I got over here to this side, let me grab a light for you guys. So then when I got over here to this side, your starter's here on the driver's side, and you move this splash guard, and then there's 3 bolts. Let's see if we get some light. The starter goes right here, and there's 3 bolts that go on top. You just zip all 3 out, pull the starter off, and I just moved it. I didn't even disconnect. I didn't even pop my hood to do this job and never even opened the hood. So I didn't disconnect the battery. I never did anything. I just kicked the starter to the side. And then from there, I grabbed which is probably still here. So I'm sitting on a seat, and I was able to sit right here and grab I just put a 22, I believe it was a 22 right here on the crankshaft, and then just a ratchet. And then everything's 1/2 inch. I didn't need any extensions. It sets against the sway bar. So I was able to only spin it clockwise. You cannot rotate this because the way that the timing's set up and the springs that are set up on the timing chain, you cannot rotate it backwards. So you can literally reach in here if you're on a bench like me and grab this bar and so you don't need a helping hand. And watch for the torque converter bolts to spin around. And once that torque converter bolt gets to like right here, like you could see where the last hole was, but you don't want to bring it too far down to the middle because they're so tight. And I was using the ratchet and the block the block as like a backing for the ratchet to break them loose. And so I just went right past the top of there, and then that way because the first one I did, it kind of rotated it back just a hair, but not enough to mess anything up on the timing. So don't go too far into the center to get your bolts unless you have somebody holding the crankshaft with, you know, a breaker bar. But I didn't have that, I didn't need it, and I was able to just do that, rotate them, pull it out, and then pull the transmission out. And that was about it. Oh, I forgot to mention, yes, so on this, when you pull that starter out, there's what I've seen on the forums, everybody's like, oh, it's really hard to get to the bolts. Well, you can't tell when you're in here at first until you pull it out, but there's this black rubber piece. So after you pull your starter out, there's this little black rubber that's notched in there, and it's notched all the way to the back. You could hardly see it, and you've got to pop that rubber out, and then you could get to the torque converter bolts pretty damn easy. And then, yeah, after that, that was it. I pulled my transmission out, and it was pretty simple. I'm doing my own rebuild on this, so I'm rebuilding the transmission myself. And I'll take you over there to that. And I don't want to get too into this too much. But the most common problems on these transmissions are it's pretty much the sprag, and it's the drive sprag. And like on this one, you can see it, and it's just twisted and oblonged, and the bearings came out. And unfortunately, the bearings, I don't even know how this thing drove in here, but it was driving and manually shifting. But this is the sun shell, and the bearings just locked up into everything and fell into everything and just destroyed this whole overdrive drum. And so, I mean, it's just destroyed. So anyways, what I'd like to explain is that when you go to replace this, like you go to replace your sprag and your drive and your overdrive drum, on the teeth for the clutches on the newer models, they have a 39 tooth, which is basically, let's see where these clutches are. Basically, these clutches here. Let's see. All right. So I'll just explain it real quick. So if you're just removing the tranny, you could you're done with the video. But if you are rebuilding it, you could, so with the 2000 and up transmissions, I believe like 2000, 2001, they come with the 39 clutch, so sprockets on the clutches. So you can't just order like the overdrive like housing and not get everything with it, not get the sprag gear assembly and all that, because they are different. So like the older models used like a 14, like they use these clutches like this to where they had it like that, and then the newer models basically use these clutches, which are like the 39. So these is a 14 tooth and this is a 39 tooth, and so they're both crossover. So once you buy the whole drum, and the whole drum assembly is there, and basically you've got it all one piece. So you want to buy the sun gear, the overdrive drum, along with the assembly sprag. There's kits that order all this, you know, together, all rebuilt. That's the way that I bought it on eBay. And then that way, whether it's the right year or wrong year, it's all one assembly on its own, and it doesn't matter once it's in there. So if that makes sense. So anyways, yeah, hit me up for any questions you have, and good luck with your transmission removal, and we'll talk to you soon on the next video. All right.